All right, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? I want to welcome you all to tonight's Dot Connect. This is episode 122. We're gonna get into some incredible updates that's going on in the crypto industry, micro and macro. Some big pivotal moves that everybody who's an investor or even has been thinking about investing needs to be privy to. But before we get into that, I'm Champ Bobbitt, the Steve Ayon. Steve, what up, my brother?
What's good? What's good?
We
Oh,
back, man. We back in action on this side.
yeah. Slowly but surely.
Yes, sir. Yo, you had something crazy. You had some something crazy going on. You know what I mean? I know you kind of want to get into with them.
Oh, the hack when I came back in the States. Yeah, the wild part about it is it happened once I landed, like in the States. So when I'm out there, Helium Mobile doesn't have a good international plan.
Mhm.
So I don't get any text messages. That's why before I leave, I'll just tell whoever I'm on WhatsApp or whatever I'm using. Um, so nothing's coming to my phone. So the minute I land stateside, everything's coming in. And couple clicks. Really, it was more of walking through customs and having my phone out because I started noticing they had the biometrics now and the border people or whoever, what they call customs agent,
Border Patrol, yeah, little agents, TSA, and all that.
custom. Well, no, the customs agent, the ones that's letting you into the country.
Mhm.
They're standing next to a biometric machine and they're asking people to walk up and just scan their face, and that shit moves fast. But there was a live person that I went to go see. I had asked before I got to the front of the line, like, they made it seem like there was no option. It was like, no, I could put you when you get it, just let me know. So there are still some live people shaking and moving. Um, and it is technology too. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
I don't know if you could ever leave it by itself. Yeah. So the hack happened right at that time. I must have clicked a few things and, now you're running through the airport to then make a connecting flight. All things. Miami International is huge.
Mhm.
So I just didn't have time to sort it out. I was locked out of the account. People were messaging me, people were calling me, like that knew me personally. Um, yeah, so it was just a whirlwind. It just happened at the perfect time. So anyway, when I get back, I'm processing because it took me about 2.5 days to get the account back. But without getting into the particulars, it was more of security features that weren't fully on, right? Because we get all these accounts. We have so many accounts now that you just tend to forget that. And I don't think IG had 2FA
Mhm.
not too long ago. So when the updates are done and you're not on top of it, you leave some holes in the system. But it had me jump over to Proton to now start, which was my top of the year plan anyway. But it just was so fitting that it happened to me. Um, and unfortunately, that some people lost some money too. This is part of the intuition. We're headed into a world now where everything is going to look real, like things are not verified AI, right? Somebody said it, but they didn't. The age of deep fakes. So if you're falling for this stuff like this now, and again, it's tough, when you're getting messaged by me personally from my account, right? You tend to, but you got to know my style. I don't do Bitcoin, one, and two, I'm definitely not hitting people up like that to get money. Um, I just bring that to the academy. You know what I'm saying? Like, just think about it. I would never give an opportunity on social media and not bring it to the academy first. So that's always the protocol is you hear it from me directly on the platform. Um, so yeah, starting with the Proton guys, like that's kind of a major hub for a lot of us because that's what connects. Nowadays you could even use your Gmail as a third party login to any website.
Yep.
So just showing you how powerful these applications that we have are. Now it's a matter of can you pull away from it? Because for me, it's just an email. I'm not even looking at emails like that no more. So this is an easy pivot to a clean mailbox. emails that aren't scanned, right? There's no storage of information. Like you got to pay for it, but it's worth it. And they do have a free account if you wanted one mailbox, but the paid is not. When you think about that, it still gives you something like Google Drive
Mm-hmm.
with the same amount of terabytes. So I'm just going to move everything over, and those files aren't scanned. So yeah, that was one domino that fell. Then a friend of mine who's big in the tech space, we finally linked up, and he's working on a product that protects your home internet. It's even a signal, as you move about mobily. Anywhere you go, it kind of masks your IP address, even if you're using public Wi-Fi. It puts you in another rail that's secure. So, that dot connected, and there's hardware attached to that and software. So, yeah, we just attacking this from like the as deep in the roots as we can get without logging off completely, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
really, if you want this shit to end, just throw the phone out, like literally, and then
Real
we'll
talk.
figure out how we talk later.
We gonna go.
What's the best?
We gonna have to go back to Morse code, man, with the taps and all that.
Something, man. I don't know, but they dumbed this down though.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, yeah, so I'm just moving more. It pushed me faster into that world, right? Because it just made sense. Um, so the timing couldn't have been any better. But I'm not saying for everybody. I'm just saying it the positives I took out of it, and I ain't even blow a gasket. Because truth be
Mhm.
told, if I ain't get it back, I wouldn't have cared. Like
Yeah,
shit, put me around real people, and not that you guys aren't real. I'm just saying this whole digital thing is a little wacky. Um, I'm kind of missing that in person, um, energy.
yeah.
So, you know, looking forward to that. But something came to me probably a couple of days ago, and I wanted to drop the message on y'all. I'm just getting this feeling, right? Most of us are already smoked when it comes down to this. Me included. If you're going to buy any more cold storage wallets, don't use your home address. All right. If you're going to buy any more cold storage wallets, do not use your home address. If you can go to Best Buy and, you know, get an unopened one from there, then cool. But if you're going to order online, find somewhere to send that thing. And don't use Amazon just to use the locker. Do not buy from Amazon. Yeah, so it's just something that came to me because you figure that's where a lot of those breaches are coming from, where people know, what you have. The same thing with Coinbase. That's the data breaches are what's putting people at harm because they can tell you what's in your account. So I would urge you guys to get like a mailbox,
Yeah, PO box or
or
something.
even if you're gonna mail it somewhere else, not somebody's house to put them at risk. I'm just saying. I think there's gonna be a small window between the time that crypto takes off and the time that security can keep up with it. Right? They're gonna allow a wild wild west to be able to like see what needs to be built. Not that it has to happen, but that's how these guys are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
They might even put out the problem bug just to sell you a solution. So laws can make liquidity move. Laws could shut down industries, right? So just remember, we're one law away from this thing like really taking off. What else? Oh, CNN with the predictive. Now you can go start the whole Polymarket thing there. They're not working with Polymarket, but you can start to bet on whatever the new cycle decides it's going to be for that week. So elections, weather, famine, war. Yeah,
yeah, we cook, man.
we're
That's
fucked.
the Colossi, right? Or something like that.
Yeah, that company. Yeah,
Yeah, we
but
cook, man.
that's going to be everybody, man. It's just the whole thing is just going to chain. I'm telling you, this thing's going to be like one big casino with a whole lot of losers and big winners. Yeah, just keep your head on the swivel. It does change the way that we look at news now, right? Um, it's going to rewire how we view truth too. So I ain't gonna hold you. They're playing a really good game out there. They smart as shit, and it's only because they know how dumb we are.
Hmm.
Yeah, they trained us not to think. So just when you think you're gonna make money on somebody's that could be somebody else's problem. Just be mindful of that. And we might be able to even shape the narrative depending on which way the bets go. So now you're playing a real wild game with these guys. So bottom line is don't be dumb. Don't fund that shit. That's like real life stuff, guys. It's not a game. So they discredit the NBA, right? They put a whole bunch of black guys as the face of like gambling. They tie the narrative to the games are fixed. So where do you think all the new liquidity goes? To the new market.
Yeah, right to the controllers.
They weaponizing the government, man. They're building a whole bunch of private companies, guys. These are all private companies. I need you to understand that. So we still ain't got a seat at these tables. And we supposed to be closing the wealth gap with those guys. Come on.
Cook, man.
Yeah,
This.
I'm telling you, no, it's the thing is you gotta stay out of those conversations, man. That shit don't even make sense.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? That's kind of where it starts. It's like this pent up competition to become a billionaire. It's like that's just white boy shit. Like they don't even have great lives at that level. Imagine you start giving a whole bunch of people from the culture that sort of wealth. My goodness.
Yeah, it's gonna be wicked.
Yeah, we'll make it look great. No, I'm just saying, like, I think we just got to sit out certain categories of things, and you know what I mean, like just create new narratives because putting yourself in those rooms could kind of make you feel like you're coming up short, and you're not, and then you lose sight of it.
Hmm.
It's like a big game for those guys, man, and you signed up for it. So yeah, guys, fuck with that intuition a little bit more. Champ, what we got tonight? We got a couple big things.
Yeah. We gonna rock them out. We gonna well, should I instead of talking about it, shit, we could get right into it. So first things first on the agenda, I think it was either Dot Connect 121 or 120. I was telling everybody about the CFTC, the Commodities Futures Trading Commission. And I told you there was a notable person that was there. Now, it's wild how things align and work. So y'all got that info extra early. Now, there was just news, there was a connection point that was just released. If I'm not mistaken, like, it was either today or last night. Basically, the CFTC acting chairman, Caroline D. Pham, she's going to join MoonPay, and she's going to lead legal and regulatory strategy over there at MoonPay. So this is huge. So I'm gonna get into that first. I'm gonna kind of give you guys some connection pieces. I was gonna play you guys a clip, but it's kind of long. It's like 2 minutes. It's like 2, 3 minutes long. So I'm not gonna bore y'all with it. But I'm dropping it inside the chat, both here and on YouTube, so you guys could check it out and y'all can watch it for yourself. The reason it's important for y'all to kind of watch that first, it'll give you a little bit of backstory to this, but let me just get into it. So basically, Caroline is about to conclude her role as the acting chairman over at the CFTC. So she, for those of you who don't know, she helped push through the largest shift in the United States financial infrastructure that we've seen in more than over a decade. And it wasn't a sandbox at all, right? This was like real factual things that she was shifting and changing. Personally, she was spearheading all of these things. So she got listed spot crypto trading on federally regulated markets. She did digital assets formally getting approved in the derivatives market, and one of the market's places was binomial. So that's one of those things you can you know what I mean, kind of keep in your mental. And then this last one is key. So she did tokenized treasuries, bonds, and money market funds got approved as margin and collateral. I want you to remember those two words, margin and collateral. So when you watch that clip, it'll make sense for you. Now, the reason this matters so much is because Caroline called Collateral the quote unquote killer app. And that phrase matters, right? Anytime somebody talks about a killer app, that is basically the function that makes something unavoidable, right? So think about it like this. Email was the killer app for the internet itself. Then you had mobile payments, they were the killer app for smartphones. So Collateral, that's the killer app for digital assets. And Collateral is basically how global finance actually runs, right? So it's how banks are able to lend, it's how derivatives trade, it's how liquidity moves at scale. And we're talking about millions, billions, up to quadrillions of dollars, right? Because these are the big players now. These are the guys who control the banks and the central banks. So when you're talking about how we operate in today's world, the collateral flows, they're always slow, fragmented, which basically means everybody's kind of on their own island. So everything is not connected yet. That's what we're getting to in crypto. Settlement normally takes a lot of time. The capital gets stuck in one or two places, and time is what? Money. And when these guys' money gets impacted, they're always trying to spiral or make another connection point or find the resolve for it. The good thing about digital assets, a lot of them actually have use cases, and this is where it's prime for them to be used. So on top of Carolyn Pham going over there, leaving the CFTC and going over to MoonPay, like this is the first time the United States financial system has ever formally acknowledged that it needs a liquidity layer that's digital. We never had that before. So one of the other things that she did that's notable, she withdrew what's called the actual delivery guidance and she modernized digital asset treatment. So basically, when the SEC took the list of crypto off its list of priorities, they gave it to other players, which was the CFTC, right? We already told y'all, everybody who's part of the 1%, y'all knew for a while that this was coming. We hoped for this, but we had the vision to see it a long time ago. Now it's actually starting to happen. So when they removed everything off the SEC side, they moved it to this regulatory body, which is Commodities Futures Trading Commission. Now, this shifted the policy away from any kind of speculation and it put it towards real use. So now you're starting to unlock ETF flows. You got banks getting involved, broker dealer activity, institutionals, excuse me, institutions are starting to use it for margin use, and you can't ignore digital assets. Now, the digital assets that are most notable are the ones that you don't really hear about in the headlines, but you definitely hear them about if you've been sitting in on these dot connects, right? Ripple, XRP, and the list goes on, right? All the ISOs and all that stuff. Everything that has a real world use case that is going to help streamline what we deal with right now, all the problems and headaches that we deal with right now, from institutions to money flows, custody, security, etc. All of those things are now going to be put into use, right? So this is why we always tell you guys, it's never about hype coins. It's never about the noise, right? People kind of equate value in what something is worth just because of price, and that's not how you're supposed to look at things. So I'm gonna connect a quick dot for you. So MoonPay, right? That's who Caroline is going to work for. She's already the acting chairman at the CFTC now. When she leaves, she's going over there to be head of basically development. She's going to be the institutional connection point. So they're going to be all about compliance on that side. So you got MoonPay already supporting XRP and RLUSD globally. You got MoonPay already partnered with MasterCard, right? And when they did that partnership with MasterCard, that enabled stablecoin spending at 150 million global merchants, right? Not just here in the United States. This is 150 million different merchants. So then that's massive scale. So then you got Ripple already handling institutional infrastructure. MoonPay handling global retail, right? So that's the access point. And then now when you connect those, you're going to have a regulated end-to-end liquidity system from consumer payments to corporate treasuries, all running through XRP Ledger. That's what structural demand looks like. Every time I get on any of these social media apps, especially the posts Steve put up, it was an Instagram reel about XRP being 10,000 a coin. Now, he didn't tell you, yes, the coin is going to 10,000 right now. He didn't say that in the video. He broke down so smooth all of the connecting pieces, right? Why the value is there, why it's possible, why it is more than likely going to happen. And people in the comments were just like, XRP is a shitcoin, blah, 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 blah. Like, this is their opinions, right? Because their mindset is not on what Ripple is building and how they're utilizing that coin. What they're focused on is price. They're not even thinking like this. So I'm gonna show you how you really supposed to see this thing. XRP to be used for margin. CFTC already green lighted. OCC just green lighted it. Now you got XRP locked up as collateral, right? And you remember she just said collateral was the killer app. You got XRP bridging foreign exchange and stable coins, right? And a partnership with MasterCard, 150 million merchants. That's not a one-time buy. That's what you call reoccurring usage loops happening over and over. It gets used, locked, recycled, needed again. That's demand by function. So when people are thinking, oh, it will never grow in price, it makes no sense because you got to remember there's a burn mechanism that comes with it. And a lot of these projects were set up that way. So you might have a large volume at once. Everything doesn't have a small limited supply like a Bitcoin does. That's why you have to think about this. These are global usage coins. Start wrapping your mind around actual utility and use case because retail gateways are ready to scale globally. And the CFTC, those are one of the big dogs. Those are the players that are telling you that this infrastructure is already built, it's already being used. Now it's just up to everybody to plug right into it. All right. So I want to move into something else that's kind of connected. This is impactful. So Ripple just received conditional approval to operate as a national trust bank along with four other companies. Hold on, let me let everybody in the room real quick. So now the OCC, if you've ever heard of them, I know all our 1%ers, you guys have heard of it, but if you haven't, the OCC is the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, right? They granted conditional approval to five crypto native firms to basically operate as federally chartered national trust banks. Those firms were Ripple, Circle, right? This is the issuer for USDC. You had BitGo, Fidelity Digital Assets, and you had Paxos, right? That's not a crypto headline. That, in essence, that's a banking headline. So I'm gonna start and I'm gonna tell you guys exactly what the OCC does, and then we'll kind of get into the rest. So the OCC basically regulates national banks. So everybody here in the United States, they basically fall under the OCC's rule of thumb. So when the OCC conditionally approved Ripple to charter that national bank, it basically is evaluating Ripple, the company, as a bank under the same standards that get applied to your traditional banks, right? Your traditional financial institutions, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, et cetera, right? PNC and so forth and so on. Now, that alone tells you how far this industry, this crypto industry right here has moved. Now, what is a national trust bank, right? That's the question that most people have because they don't really even dig to try to figure out what these connection pieces mean. You're watching infrastructure being built. You're watching the future of finance happen. It's literally being unrolled for you. So basically, any national trust bank, they basically they don't take your checking account or issue credit cards, right? Basically, they custody assets, they clear and settle transactions, they provide trust and fiduciary services, right? They operate in all 50 states under one federal license. And that's one of those things where you have to consider it like the layer underneath consumer banks. It's the plumbing of the new financial system. Now, here's the part that I had a question about. When I got the news, I'm treating this like, all right, I know I'm going to have to deliver this on Dot Connect. So if I was somebody in the audience, what does this matter for Ripple? Right? I said, okay, let me break it down like this. Ripple's business was never about retail crypto holding. It was always about moving value between businesses, between institutions, if you will. The charter itself allows Ripple to do that inside of the United States banking system instead of working around it, instead of like looking and hoping to get more and more partnerships and connection points with banks. Now you are a bank. You become part of the banking system under this rule of thumb. So now the same business model that you've been operating as a national trust, this is the business model for it. Ripple can custody digital assets with institutions and for institutions directly. That's the key point, directly. You got providing bank grade settlement services. You can integrate more deeply with payment rails. You can issue and manage stable coins. And you know, ROUSD is already under federal oversight. They can serve banks, funds, enterprises, governments, all with regulatory clarity. So this removes all of the biggest frictions that institutions already had with crypto, which was basically uncertainty. That uncertainty level is completely removed. Now, Ripple is now being regulated by design. So then now let's talk about XRP. They're going to use it, of course, in everything that they do. Ripple is a tool that excuse me, XRP is a tool that Ripple uses. And this is where a lot of confusion almost always shows up. So XRP is the digital asset Ripple uses for liquidity and settlement. Now, think of XRP as the bridge asset. Today, banks move money across borders using pre-funded accounts, right? That's Nostro Vostro accounts. And they call this quote unquote walled gardens. So if you ever heard of the phrase walled gardens, that basically means money that is idle, that is just simply piling up, and institutions have to always send this money to a middle bank, right? A middleman. And in order for the transaction to facilitate, you basically have to, every institution has to pre-fund accounts all over the world so that when their customers travel and go to other places, the money has already been pre-funded. But that until that happens, that money is literally just sitting idle. That money is literally sitting in a vault somewhere and it's just stacked up. So think about it like that. You're standing in your yard, a fence, you can't see over your fence. That's a garden. That's a walled garden. That's what they talk about when it comes to money, not moving, not flowing, right? Liquidity is supposed to be a flow of capital from place to place. This is what this actual coin does. Ripple has innovative technology that they already use, and that technology in itself, that's what they structure everything under. Now, XRP is the catalyst for it all. That's what they use as the bridge asset where it can move anything of value. It doesn't matter what it is, anything digital, anything tokenized, commodities, gold, silver, platinum, palladium, diamonds, you name it. Fine art, music, anything that you can tokenize and put on the blockchain, it can move it back and forth. That eliminates pre-funding. So what does that do for banks? That helps every single bank not have to no longer pre-fund transactions. If they don't have to pre-fund, what happens to all that money, all that walled garden? That money can go back to the banks. When money goes back to the banks, then what happens to it? They're now able to give more money out in loans. The money flows. They can introduce new products. They can create new things, make new partnerships, all things. So, in context, you're talking about a digital asset, excuse me, you're talking about a digital asset that Ripple doesn't own, Ripple just uses. And it means XRP is already compliant, right? It already has regulatory clarity, but it's a utility asset that's compliant. And that's going to be used for everything of value at scale. Millions, billions, trillions of dollars all happening at once. That's for XRP. That's the bridge. Now, there are discussions that happen, and people are like, oh, well, there's still risk because it takes 3 seconds as opposed to, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 7 days, 10 days for a transaction to reach finality, right? So banks still have some sort of like reluctancy that they deal with, right? And they'll say, oh, anything can happen in 3 seconds of transacting. So we're trying to remove that, which is why stable coins are so important, right? That's why you have the Genius Act. That's why you have the Clarity Act. That's why you have all of these bills that they're kind of rolling out for us. And there's actually a talk that's supposed to be happening, I think, in maybe about 45 minutes. Trump is supposed to be addressing the nation. So I definitely want to catch that. So I'm gonna try to get y'all out of here, in a good time so everybody can kind of catch that. I don't know what's going to be unveiled, but I do know it should be something important because you got to think about it. What's today? Today is a Wednesday. This is a weekday. 9 p.m. 9 p.m. is what? Prime time. That's when everybody's at home. Everybody's supposed to be chilling. Everybody's already done eating dinner. So you're kind of locked in. Most people are just relaxing, taking it easy, flicking through the channels. So for him to want to come on during prime time, if this isn't like an ego play, I think this is going to be something important that's kind of going to be impactful. I don't know if it's going to be about war. I don't know if it's going to be about money, but ultimately it always goes back to those two things anyway. So I want y'all to be able to catch that. But in terms of RLUSD, that's Ripple's stablecoin itself. That stablecoin went from nothing to a top five stablecoin, right? Regulatory compliant. Everybody loves it, and it's issued under federal standards. It's overseen by the OCC and different state regulators. Um, it's used for institutional settlement and tokenized asset flows, integrated into banking workflows. So ultimately, it provides price stability. So banks have nothing else to complain about. Ripple created the tech stack, and they're literally they're designed to work together. So you had RLUSD to have that price stability, XRP providing the liquidity and the movement. So with them working together, now you got stable value on one side, instant transfer on the other side. Now, if you zoom out and you look at the big picture, the approval wasn't given to just one of the companies. It was given to multiple digital asset firms all at one time. So that should tell us something super important. Basically, the United States is absorbing crypto into the banking system, but only the parts that can meet bank level standards. That's why this matters. We always said once the institutions come in here, what they're going to do is they're going to plant their flag. Nothing can move without the money that is currently facilitating through all of these institutions, these governments, everybody you can think of, these businesses, everybody has to use some sort of bank to be able to transact, right? Of course, we have crypto, so we can bypass banks, but ultimately, when you're dealing with countries and stuff like that, you have to kind of think about this like it got to make sense, right? They're going to pull the money out. So even doing a transaction in crypto that could be billions of dollars, right? Right on the blockchain, that's happening now, right? But ultimately, that value, that money has to go back to a banking institution because it's going to be used for other methods. So that's why all of these companies are starting to become national banks. This is why they're all fighting to be in this space because now you don't have to fight with the banks. You basically become a bank and then everything has to operate together. This is what I've been waiting for. This is what I've been doing this for. 10 plus years of deep diving, getting this information. All of this stuff all mattered because of these moments right here to now start to see it with a bird's eye view. Crypto is simply being separated into two paths. I want y'all to think about this. You got assets that get built for speculation, and then you got assets that are built for infrastructure. Ripple, XRP, RLUSD, all of that firmly infrastructure lane, right? Now, in short, the OCC Trust Bank approval put all five of those companies on the same level playing field, right, for institutions. But each one of them is going to benefit slightly different based on the way their core business is, right? So I'll give you like a quick beginner friendly breakdown for each of these. All right. So first things first, you got Circle. Circle is the issuer for USDC. They had I think theirs was called First National Digital Currency Bank or something like that. So that basically is going to allow USDC to operate under direct federal bank oversight. That's going to strengthen USDC's credibility for banks, governments, and large instos. And then it's going to position USDC as a compliant settlement dollar inside the United States system. Then you got BitGo. That's going to elevate BitGo from basically a crypto custodian to a bank grade digital asset custody. That's going to enable direct institutional and sovereign custody without a whole bunch of regulatory like nonsense going on. Then you got the ability to deepen its role as infrastructure for funds, ETFs, treasuries, etc. So BitGo, that's bank grade custody. Then you got Fidelity digital assets, right? That's going to bring Fidelity's crypto arm fully under federal banking perimeters, right? It's going to allow traditional investors to access digital assets through a trusted legacy brand, which is fire. That's what the old money, that's what they want. The old money, they with all these things changing, you have to remember some people are kind of stuck in their ways. They're used to how they've been transacting. Because they've been transacting this way, now they have a little piece of comfort knowing that the same name and the companies that they've been doing business with, they've been transacting their millions and their whole life legacies with, they're in the game as well. So as the world is changing, those same old school players that they've been dealing with, they're starting to change as well. So now you got the ability for them to basically operate in the federal banking parameters. You got that trusted legacy brand situation, and then it's going to bridge Wall Street capital into crypto under these same familiar regulatory rules. And then last, you got Paxos. So Paxos, this is going to reinforce their stablecoin situation, and they got a tokenization business model. So they're huge with this, right? And they all operate under federal standards. Now, this also supports regulated issuance of stablecoins and tokenized assets. The SEC chairman, he just said that in the next couple of years, all things are going to be on the blockchain, right? He said all markets. That was a signal. He gave everybody the green light. He's telling everybody, all right, now we're at a position where we've got regulatory clarity, we've got banks, we've got institutions, we've got governments, everybody's on board. Everybody is kind of following this groundwork of cryptocurrency. And as they're doing so, he just told everybody, listen, the time is now. Hurry up, do what you got to do. So in the next 2, 3 years, imagine how 2025, just for a second before I continue, for 2025, think about how far and how much crypto has changed, how much banking has changed, right? How much everything has been about AI, cryptocurrency. It's all been happening right under our noses. So if he tells you in the next 2, 3 years, do you know how much is going to change? And then now you got to consider mass adoption. If you think now we went from 3 to 4%, 3 to 5% of the global population, now we at approximately 7%, and we did that in a span of maybe about a year, year and a half. When all of these institutions and all these banks and all these crypto companies are now getting bank charters, and every one of their customers and the markets, the global markets are all opening up to cryptocurrency and stable coins, you don't think we're gonna be at 15, 20%, 30% like that? This is when people gotta really open their eyes and kind of see things for the writing on the wall. All five of these firms, they're moving from just regular crypto companies. They're all gonna be federally supervised financial infrastructure companies. They're going to all become banks. Crypto companies are now becoming the new banks. We've always said this. We've always said this. Now you seeing it play out word for word. That is going to unlock institutional trust, huge capital flows, and a bunch of integration all into the United States banking system. When it happens in the United States system, where do you think else is going to happen? You know it's going to happen in Europe. If it happens in Europe, where else is going to go? It's going over to the Middle East. It's Sharia law compliant already. XRP, XLM, and a couple other big dogs, big players, they're already compliant in major jurisdictions all around the world. So their banks, especially in Japan, SBI, that's the big dog in Japan. He said all of their banks are going to use XRP. That's not speculation. That came from the CEO, Yoshitaka Katal, who runs SBI Holdings. So they're already telling you what they're going to use. They're telling you what they want to use. All of the compliance is happening, all of the rules, all of the groundwork is being laid out. And now you got a bunch of different players that's all signing up to get their approvals to become banks. And then this is the last one, and then we out. So this connects as well. So I actually just found this today. Well, actually yesterday. So I'm traveling, I'm coming back from NC and I'm scrolling. And I see PayPal officially submitted applications to United States regulators that they basically wanted to become a bank as well. I'm like, oh shit, excuse my French. I wasn't expecting that. That was wild to me. I'm like, this is PayPal we're talking about. So let me just run you out through the gamut. So PayPal applied to launch PayPal Bank, right? They were going to be out of Utah. That they were trying to be a chartered industrial loan company, right? Um, ILC is what that stands for. If you ever hear somebody abbreviate it, especially things that come out of Utah, it's called the ILC, Industrial Loan Company. Now, basically, they're going to have oversight from the Utah Department of Financial Institutions and the FDIC. So they're going to be federally insured. They're going to be able to hold deposits directly. They offer FDIC insured savings accounts. They can lend to businesses without relying on partner banks. Um, what else? They can connect directly to United States payment rails and the credit card networks, control settlement, liquidity, capital flows end to end, right? Which means they handle it from both sides, from business to consumer and from consumer to consumer, because it's PayPal. So right now, PayPal basically is a complementary player. It sits on top of the banking system. This move right here is going to integrate and put PayPal inside of the banking system as a whole. So that's the distinction that actually matters. You gotta remember that ever since 2013, PayPal, they already issued over $30 billion in loans to more than, I think it was 420,000 businesses. But they basically had to do it through third-party banks. So if you've ever used like a buy now, pay now situation through PayPal, it's a bank that you're going through PayPal to basically get the access to the capital, but then it's being funneled out to a bank who's giving you quote unquote the loan, right? So now that's going to remove all of that. There's going to be no more dependency whatsoever. So I had to ask myself, like, why would PayPal try to become a bank? Like, payments is no longer the business. The control of money is. Payment processors basically they're being squeezed from every direction. You got the compliance costs going up. You got slower settlement times. Basically, it's taking longer for settlement to happen. Everybody is siloed. Basically, everybody's on their own island, so it's taking longer for transactions to be settled and final, right? Reach finality. You got fragmented banking partnerships. So people will have banking partnerships with the same players, right? But because nothing is connected right now, everybody is doing their own thing. So everybody is kind of fighting for market share. They're trying to figure out how to bridge this gap. This is where the financial plumbing, this is where digital assets, this is where stable coins, this is where all these things come together, right? So this is why crypto is the most pivotal thing anybody can put their time and their energy into right now. This right here, this is when it matters the most. Now, PayPal, they see the writing on the wall. They see where this is going. Owning the bank charter basically allows you to reduce costs, speed up settlement, improve the margins. You can control the risk. You can control the money. You can lend. and expand that, right? And then now you're on a global stage of competing because you're a bank. That's about infrastructure ownership. If you don't own the rails, you eventually get taxed and replaced. They doing away with you. So you all know why this matters. I don't really have to kind of go into that and break that down. But in layman's terms, either you become a federally regulated institution or you basically integrate deeply with blockchain rails that offer instant settlement and liquidity. And right now, PayPal is choosing the first path, become the regulated financial institution for right now. And here's the thing, for crypto, this is a validation moment, right? This is powerful because think about this. PayPal already supports crypto 100%, right? So on PayPal, you can buy and sell crypto right now. They got stable coins. And remember, PayPal already has their own stable coin right now. PYUSD is the name of it. P is in Papa, Y is in Yankee, USD, right? That's an ERC20. So that's on Ethereum. They already are working with tokenized assets. You know, everything, like he said, everything is coming on chain, right? So you got Builder, you got BlackRock, you got all of these players that want to do everything tokenized. They're going to tokenize stocks, bonds, commodities, everything, right? So when it all comes on chain, every chain has an opportunity. So people are trying to position themselves right now in the perfect place to be able to absorb all of that value, to help move all of that value. Because of course they're going to be incentivized if they're a part of that transaction. That's what the fight is about. That's why everybody is rushing to the table right now. Now, as far as payment processors, PayPal not going to be the only one. This right here, this basically opens the door and it's going to raise the bar for everybody. So if PayPal actually does become a bank, which I highly think it will, you're going to have Square, Stripe, uh, Revolut, Wise, Coinbase, Circle, all of the players, right? They're all going to face the same question. Do you basically stay a middleware company or do you become financial infrastructure? That era of like just being a payments app is over for that. That was innovative before, but now everything is about progression. Everything is building up to see what is the next phase, what is the next iteration, what is the next improvement. If a business, Steve broke this down a long time ago, if a business does not, um, adapt and grow with the times, you're cooked. You go out of business every single time. So that's exactly what these guys are doing. And basically, bank charters right now, those are strategic weapons. So we're already seeing crypto firms applying for these bank charters. You got stablecoin issuers, they're all seeking like federal oversight. And then you got fintechs pursuing those ILC structure infrastructures that I talked about. But this is what I call convergence. Convergence is basically when banks become tech companies. The tech companies become banks. And then crypto is becoming a settlement layer that connects both of them. So ultimately, this is about speed, control, liquidity, and survival. PayPal is definitely going to become a bank, in my humble opinion. It's nothing humble about me. PayPal is old finance, but they're not going to stay there. PayPal is forging ahead and they're sending a signal that they mean business and they want business. So when you sent that signal out to the rest of the world, basically what's happening right now, that's the signal for the financial reset. It's no longer a theory. Right now, the companies are filing for them, they're getting approved, and they're being regulated right now in real time. So tonight, I want you guys to kind of sit and think about this. First things first, everybody that's invested in crypto, do not leave your crypto on exchanges whatsoever. Do not purchase, invest, whatever it is that you're going to get it off of exchanges immediately. Anytime that you start seeing big moves like this, you're always going to see blood on the streets. Don't let it be yours. Invest in whatever you need to. Put it on the cold storage wallet, protect your cold storage wallet, put it in your safes, you know what I mean? And we got courses and all that stuff that breaks all of this stuff down. Everybody who's took the security courses and all that, y'all know all the gems, all the tricks, all the tools, right? We give them to you freely. We don't hold nothing back. All the gems, y'all got them. Handle business. You're watching regulators legitimize Collateral, the killer app. You're watching Ripple move fully into the United States banking system. You're watching payment giants like PayPal, BitGo, and all these players, Paxos. They're all applying for bank charters right now. That's not noise. That's the financial system being built right now in public, in front of everybody's faces. Digital assets aren't being debated anymore whatsoever. They're being integrated, used, regulated. Collateral, liquidity, settlement. That's the three piece. Now I got a question for you. If you're not invested in crypto right now and you do not have a home, what are you waiting for? Especially when you're seeing the market on sale right now. And if you are already invested in crypto, now I'm not talking to the people who may not have extra capital right now to invest, right? Everybody has to make their own decisions. They have to make their own determinations to say, I'm going to sacrifice temporary pleasures, right? And temporary experiences for the setup of long-term success, right? I want to prepare my family and my finances for the future of what's happening. I see the writing on the wall. Let's do this. I'm not talking to the people who just don't have capital right now. If you are not invested, or if you are invested and have the capital and you're not doing something with it right now, you have to ask yourself, what am I doing? And I want you to sit with that. That's powerful. That's a powerful question. Those questions, I'm not judging nobody. I've been on both sides of the fence. I've been in the seat where you just kind of sit still and you don't move. Sometimes like that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to just sit still, right? Sometimes you are the person that is the example of what not to do. Sometimes you are the example of what you should do, right? Which is actually be in motion. All right, you know what? Instead of going out to eat 3 times this week, let's go out one time and let's use the money that we would use on a steak dinner for, a party of two or three. We spending $300, $400, whatever. Let's invest it. Again, it's not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just telling you from my paradigm how I see things. People a lot of times say they don't have something, but a lot of times it's really just taking a beat, assessing what you're doing, and then making the adjustment. That's it. I'm telling you now, the people who make the adjustments right now, when the world is shifting and you're able to hear about it, understand it, and see it and be a part of it, you have no excuses whatsoever. None. I'm gonna leave y'all with this. If you haven't taken advantage, this is for all the existing people. So YouTube right now, I'm not talking to y'all, but y'all stay with me real quick. Everybody who has not taken advantage of the 1% right now, we got the sale going on through December 31st, 444, right? With the code black. I'm gonna drop it right here in the chat for y'all so that y'all have it. Now, YouTube, if you are listening to this, you hear my voice and there's something pulling on you, there's something resonating with your spirit right now, and you don't have a home, you don't know what to do with crypto, you haven't learned, you don't have access to no courses, no nothing, we got you covered. All you have to do is go to skytonacademy.com. Enroll. We got a trial period going on for your first 7 days. It's $1, 4 quarters. That's it for 7 days. You can cancel when you want to if you don't want to continue, but you get full access to everything inside the academy. Anybody and everybody that is on this call that is a member, they can tell you how incredible these courses are, how they help you, how they assist you. We're doing everything in our power to make sure nobody can say, yo, Skyton didn't look out. Skyton didn't give us the access. They didn't give us the information. They didn't give us the know-how. We're damn near giving it to you. The link is going to be in the description below. I'll drop it in the chat over there on the YouTube side so that you guys have it. But on the replay to this video, it's right there. Right? The system is changing. The rails are being built right now. And the people who understand it early and they don't chase opportunity, they're not fixated on just a green candle. They're here to get positioned. If they're not already properly positioned, they're going to be the ones who see the great wealth transfer flow right into their hands. And they'll be able to kick their feet up on the beach somewhere, sipping Mai Tais or, mocktails or whatever, whatever have you, whatever your guilty pleasure is. But I'm not here to preach to the choir. I'm just here to deliver this information. We're coming at the very tail end of 2026, and you're seeing so much happen. I truly hope people are paying attention and listening to our voices as we deliver this content. All right. This is more than just information being given away. I'm telling you that the world is shifting, the world is changing. Everybody is going to have to align with cryptocurrency, blockchain technology, distributed ledger technology. You are going to be the one who sets the tone for your family. Make it happen. All right. Love y'all. Appreciate y'all. Let me drop this link inside the chat on the YouTube side. Greatly appreciate y'all. And Jackie on the YouTube side, incredible question. Only because she asked this, I'm gonna address it. She said, do you use Faraday basically for your electronics? Yes. Everybody who's part of Skyton Academy, they already know the vibes. We definitely use it on this side. Everything is about protection. All right. Make sure you guys are protecting your neck out here. This is a digital landscape. Everybody can be a victim. Today, I was just made a victim myself. I was compromised on my Twitter account. So if y'all can, head over to Twitter. It's Big Champ the Boss and report it compromised. You know what I mean? It'll actually help. But hopefully, if they just shut it down, they shut it down. I created a new one today. I set up my two-factor. I did all the things. You know what I mean? So it don't matter who you are. We teach this. We teach security. Real talk. But anybody can be compromised. I completely forgot to double check that joint. Basically, when I'm trying, yo, you took the words, man, you took the words right out of my mouth. Pause. Justin said that means you are getting close. Amen, sir. I'm telling you, when it comes to cryptocurrency and it comes to this digital landscape, nobody hears us until it's too late and you become the victim. It's I don't believe in coincidences. It only happened by happenstance. Right now, we're talking about sovereignty. We're talking about protection. We're talking about security, raising your security protocols. And even got the book. So all the members, Steve been telling everybody to get this book. Like all of this stuff is been going on. We're building the Sovereignty OS app. Like all of these things are happening, and then we've never been compromised. And then now, boom, it happens. This just happened to me today, like maybe 4 hours ago. I just realized like, yo, my account's compromised. Wild. And I wasn't even on Twitter today, so I don't even know how it got compromised. But he got in, changed the passcode, changed the email. I can't, the Twitter or X customer service, they're trash, right? They're not helpful. That's how these digital platforms work. And you got to remember, they don't really help you unless you're paying for it. Twitter and all these apps and all this, it's free. So at the end of the day, they're just basically collecting our data. But I just had years and years of content and information that I had been storing on the platform, the connection points, the relationships that I built. You know what I mean? So that's the things. So you just have to be cautious. You have to be careful because at the end of the day, all of this stuff can be taken away from you. And it's cool because like Steve said, it's time to get back to, actually being in the rooms with people. You know what I mean? Actually feeling energy, dapping people up, shaking hands, right? You know what I mean? Getting back to that real connection. This is cool, you know what I mean? But actually being in the cipher and connecting with people, man, that's where it's at. So all of that, I tell y'all, man, just be safe out here, protect yourselves. Um, you know what I mean? Make sure you guys are participating in good safety practices. Um, don't take this shit lightly. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people get compromised and they end up losing a lot of vital information and things that you really can't get back. So everybody ain't built the same. Everybody not gonna have the same reaction. So protect yourself out here. All right. Now, with that said, this is going to conclude Connect Wednesdays, episode 122. YouTube, greatly appreciate y'all for being in the building. Like I said, if you need a crypto home, the link will be down in the description below. And everybody here, replay will be up for Skating Academy members. Um, Probably tomorrow. YouTube be hating, they be moving a little slow. But I got y'all covered. All right. So love y'all, appreciate y'all. We'll see y'all next Tuesday for members only. All right. Big love, y'all. Peace.